energy and its role in getting to net zero. And thanks as well, Secretary Kerry, to David Livingston. We have some history with David as well at the Atlantic Council. He ran our Atlantic Council Climate and Advanced Energy Initiative and really got us off to a good start with our Global Energy Center. And thanks, David, for your many contributions since then. Secretary Kerry, over to you.
Fred, thank you very, very much. Thanks for inviting me to be here to share some thoughts with all of you. And my best to my good friend, one of my closest friends in the Senate, Sheldon Whitehouse, who's been just a champion on so many things. Though I think I will urge him to join in an all-out war on acronyms from now on. If my 3 years in this role have taught me anything, it's horrible. Anyway, I'm really happy to be here. This is the opening event for me of one of the world's worst exercises, which is New York's diplomatic speed dating that we do here. So, but I am really happy to be with you, Fred, and with the Atlantic Council. You guys have been doing a great job of challenging thinking, which is what we need, obviously. And I'm delighted to be here to talk about nuclear energy and where we are. We're only halfway through the month of September, but we have already experienced some 8 catastrophic floods around the world. And I want to emphasize to everybody that the decisions that President Biden is making in leading us to hopefully a whole new vision of a clean energy economy, that is based not on any politics, zero ideology. It's based on science, mathematics, physics, a little chemistry, biology mixed in. That is what is driving our decision making. And everything that we think about and do with respect to this right now has really got to be focused on the evidence, what the facts are. I gave a speech recently in Scotland in Edinburgh. And that, as you know, several hundred years ago was the center of the Enlightenment. People like, David Hume and Adam Smith and others sort of fought back against this automatic notion that you ignore evidence, that everything that happens was either a vengeful God or some happenstance that was punishing human beings for making the wrong choices. But on the other hand, everything that has followed through 2 massive world wars and other excursions in military fields have brought us to a point where science is really proving itself every day, and none more so than in the rapidity with which we created COVID vaccines and some of the great accomplishments that we're seeing in technology today. So that's the backdrop. There's a simple reason why the massive rainstorms and floods are taking place, because the warming of the ocean, 90% of the heating of the planet goes into the ocean. And that produces a warming of the ocean, which increases massively the amount of moisture that goes up into the atmosphere, traveling around the world, and it drops in the form of these massive flooding rainstorms. And here's the bottom line, folks. I'm not the harbinger of bad news, believe me. I am, hopefully, someone who is basing what I'm saying on evidence and on reality. And the reality is that this year is going to be worse than last year. And next year is going to be worse than this year, no matter what we do, for the simple reason that we're way behind. We're currently heading towards something like 2.4 degrees, 2.5 degrees of warming on the planet. And everything that you see happening today is happening at 1.1 degrees Celsius of warming. We have yet a 1/3, almost a 1/3 increase in the warming from where we are before we even experience the level the scientists have told us we have to be, is our limit, 1.5 degrees. First adopted sort of parenthetically in Paris, then wholeheartedly in Glasgow, and reiterated in Sharm el-Sheikh, and reiterated now by Sultan Al-Jaber, the president of the COP, and the UAE's very clear statements that everybody, including the oil and gas industry, have to step up in order to accelerate this transition. And so it's my judgment that only certain political elements are resisting, and some people who are exploiting certain cultural and other components of the choices we face, who are doing it because they want to just protect the status quo. No other excuse. And so we are in a fight to try to determine how fast we can make a transition. A transition, which, by the way, will make us all healthier because there will be far less particulates in the atmosphere that get into people's lungs, give them cancer, kill 8 million people a year, die because of the lack of quality air around the planet. And because we now know with certainty what the reaction is to some of the things that are happening. For instance, insurance companies pulling out of insuring people in Florida and other parts of our country and other parts of the world. This is going to have a massive negative impact on the stability the marketplace needs in order to make decisions and in order to be able to grow the way we would like to. Disruptions in supply chains hurt everybody, and they have a massive negative impact on the choices that we have in front of us. So, my friends, we have to recognize a reality here. We have to transition away from unabated burning of fossil fuel. Now, whether or not you can prove that you're going to be competitive price-wise or competitive at scale in abated, I don't know the answer to that. I would have some doubts based on the experience we had with coal. 28 years in the Senate, I voted plenty of times on clean coal programs, and we know that doesn't exist. We don't have it. So where we're heading here is sort of a confrontation with reality. And the Atlantic Council is to be congratulated for putting this issue squarely on the table. Most scientists will tell you, and certainly groups like Climate Tracker and Rhodium and others who follow where we are on a regular basis will tell you, we can't get to net zero 2050 unless we have a pot of a mixture of energy approaches in the new energy economy. And one of those elements, which is essential in all the modeling I've seen, is nuclear. You will have to have some component of nuclear, yet to be determined how big or where it'll go. That's going to be a market-based reaction. But clearly, we're going to need some nuclear to be part of that. Now, the IEA recently came out and said they're supporting an initiative with others, with the COP and others, for about an initiative that would limit that would excite the deployment of renewable energy, and they want a tripling of that energy. But here's the bottom line, and they acknowledge it. Even if you had a quintupling of renewable energy, you will not alter the current course of 2.4 degrees because it's that big a challenge right now. So we need to make certain that we are committing as a global community not to making the problem worse, which is what we are actually doing today. $2.5 trillion of subsidy for fossil fuel industry, which is in fact creating the problem because it is not abating those emissions. And emissions obviously are what are creating the warming and the challenges we face on the planet. So that's why we have to commit to start with not to keep making the problem worse. And secondly, we need to accelerate all zero emissions or extremely low emissions approaches to energy, power, to transportation, and ultimately, hopefully, to heavy industry, which is a critical component of where we have to go. So we don't have the luxury of unilaterally disarming ourselves, folks. with respect to any decarbonization technology when we're facing the urgency of this crisis. It's all of the above we need on the table. Now, you're here to try to accelerate and discuss the road to additional nuclear. I served in the United States Navy, proudly, and I worked with a number of nuclear ships. I was not on a nuclear ship, but I worked with them. I remember well, because I was a young kid and I was marveling at it in 1954, the creation of Nautilus, first nuclear sub. Almost, 70 years ago or so. In that period of time, with many nuclear reactors and human beings living right on top of them and below them and above them, we have never lost a sailor. We've never had an accident. We've never had a spill. We have produced nuclear energy that is used around the world to help protect the United States of America. In my state of Massachusetts, where there was a huge fight over Seabrook nuclear plant in New Hampshire, we now happily get about 20% of all our energy from Seabrook, and nobody's complaining. Maybe about the prices a little bit, because that's normal in today's world. But the United States is now, therefore, committed, based on experience and based on reality, to trying to accelerate the deployment of nuclear energy. And as part of the Biden program, it's what we believe we absolutely need in order to win this battle. And we believe we still can win this battle. We proved in Glasgow and in Sharm el-Sheikh, with all the promises that put on the table, including the First Movers Coalition, which accelerates sending a market signal about buying green and using green now, people paying the premium, to the methane pledge. We went from 20 countries to now have 155 countries committed on the methane pledge, the shipping challenge, Maersk, Yara, these building carbon-free ships. So we're on the move in the right direction, but we're not yet where we need to be by any sense of the imagination. We also need to stop building any unabated coal-fired power plants. That is the height of bad policy at this point in time. And most of those new plants are coming online in Asia. About 500 gigawatts worth are planned. More folks than the United States, 10 times more than the United States currently has deployed, and we are going down, obviously, in our deployment. So we have to find a way to get other countries to join us in reducing their current levels of emissions. So I just visited Bucharest, and we are committed. We are working. The Biden administration is working very closely with the government of Romania. We've checked on the progress of the efforts to create a small modular reactor by the end of the decade. I went to the university, Polytechnica, looked at their current simulator and the work they're doing. They've proactively been working to take care of 1,000 coal miners who will transition into this different sector. And I announced at the time the awardees, 3 awardees of 3 similar SMR facilities in Czechia, Poland, and Slovakia. And we launched that program last year at COP27. We're going to try to, it provides for coal to SMR feasibility studies. And we want to accelerate that transition. As all of you know, that's already happening to some degree here in the United States, in Wyoming, where TerraPower and Bill Gates are working with the government to try to build that prototype. And then, of course, in Idaho, at the laboratory, where NuScale technology is being used, the same technologies in Romania, to try to move forward. So we created a one-stop shop to provide eligible Eurasian countries interested in deploying SMRs with a broad range of tools to be able to try to help them in their journey on nuclear energy. And the program is going to support the establishment of some of the similar simulators that we saw in Bucharest. So folks, we're less than 75 days away from the start of COP28 in Dubai. And that is obviously an opportunity to try to galvanize more action, more activities. And I'm very pleased to see the launch of Net Zero Nuclear, a pioneering platform for countries and companies that want to try to accelerate the clean energy transition. And I'm proud to see GE joining from the start of all of this. So, my friends, here's sort of the summary, if you will. It really isn't often that people in public life or in the private sector are called on to make choices that will impact all of humankind and actually impact a planet that is in great distress. I believe we can win this battle, but not unless we change the way people are just merrily drifting along with business as usual, somehow thinking something's going to come that's going to clean this up. No, we have to clean it up. And we have to do this faster, at bigger scale, more than ever before. And for those of you judging the marketplace, let me tell you something. No politician, I'm not going to discount the importance of any race, but no politician individually or even a group can stop what is happening now. The marketplace has made its decision. Ford, General Motors, Volkswagen, Mercedes, these various companies around the world have made the decision to go electric. They've spent billions of dollars retooling their factories. You think they're going to suddenly go back, oh no, let's go back to internal combustion. Not happening. Not happening. And everybody understands that more and more, look at the thousands of people marching yesterday saying end fossil fuels. Well, I applaud them for pushing and wanting, and that's sort of, to me, the broader message of that is get rid of the emissions. Stop hurting ourselves. Don't be our own worst enemy. And you all are on the vanguard of this effort. So I applaud you. I ask you to double your efforts, triple your efforts. We have to make this happen. We can make this happen. We also will be safer. You don't have to send young people to fight and die somewhere to protect your source of energy. You don't get caught up in geostrategic politics over energy. Produce it yourself, have it self-contained. Moreover, we will be healthier, cleaner, the world will be cleaner, and it will actually be far more effective at doing the things we need to do to make our cities work, to have first-class transportation that can move people more easily without doing damage to the world around us. So please, keep pushing. Don't slow down. We have to accelerate in every aspect of what we are doing. But I see things happening that are blowing my mind in terms of new technologies, the race for hydrogen, the efforts to try to have battery storage that's longer. Germany is moving towards massive renewable dependency. Nairobi, where we just were for the African Summit, 91% renewable today and going up to 96% renewable, not clean, renewable. And so there's going to be a huge balancing act that's coming out here. And to those who are the most genius and the most committed to translating that genius into real products and making things happen, to them will go the spoils, i.e. The market share that they're going to earn and deserve as a result. So we're with you. President Biden's deeply committed to this. I think you know that. The IRA is already making a difference. And if we do everything that we can do, we're going to make a difference too. Thank you all.
Thank you, Secretary Kerry, and thank you to Senator Whitehouse, and thank you, Fred, for beginning this day.